Today I want to talk about undefeated Brigham Young going to undefeated Coastal Carolina in what is becoming the biggest game of the weekend. And all that's coming up after the bumper.
Don't be cornering me. Hold up. Time. You gotta help me with that corner shit.
What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Consider hitting the like and subscribe button because I upload a video every single day. It's always college football related, sports related. We have a good time. Today, I want to talk about Brigham Young at Coastal Carolina in a game that got scheduled almost overnight and has wide-ranging implications for the college football playoff and the New Year's 6 selection of a, at-large champ, Power 5 champ. Want to get into that. I'm going to consult some notes here because now we're getting into the thick of it because BYU, Cincinnati, Tulsa, and Coastal Carolina all make this a really interesting discussion around the New Year's 6 Bowl. So let's start with what we know, and then let's get into the game. The New Year's 6 contract bowls are the Rose Bowl, the Sugar Bowl, the Orange Bowl, right? So let's start with this. Rose Bowl gets the Big Ten champ or the Big Ten runner-up if the champion goes to the playoff versus the Pac-12 champ or the Pac-12 runner-up if that champ goes to the playoff. The Sugar Bowl gets the SEC champ and the SEC runner-up if that team goes to the playoff, champ goes to the playoff. Big 12 gets the champ or the Big 12 runner-up. Now, the Rose Bowl and the Sugar Bowl are both in the playoff rotation this year, contract bowls. That's a big deal if you're BYU. I'll explain in a little bit. And then the Orange Bowl is the ACC champ and the ACC runner-up if that champion goes to the playoff. And if available, the highest available, like SEC, Big Ten, or Notre Dame. Now, Notre Dame and Clemson, both in the conference championship for the ACC, could likely both end up in the playoff. Also, really good for BYU and really good, quite honestly, for Coastal Carolina and Cincinnati because the Access Bowls this year, right, the Cotton Bowl, the Fiesta Bowl, and the Peach Bowl could all welcome you as an at-large bid. But I need to underscore here, BYU is not competing against Cincinnati for that other New Year's 6 Bowl spot that goes to the Group of 5 champion. Now, Tulsa could also end up with that thing if they're able to beat Cincinnati in a conference championship, and all they got to do is win one of their next two, notably against Navy this Saturday, to get into that championship and play Cincinnati back-to-back, and they could backdoor into the New Year's 6 Bowl, which would be remarkable. So what that means now is that BYU really needs to beat Coastal Carolina to give themselves an opportunity to get into one of these New Year's 6 spots because we know that every team ranked number 9 or better since the inception of the college football playoff process has gotten into the New Year's 6 Bowl. Right now, that team, I believe, is Iowa State at number 9. Yeah, I'm right in that. They get West Virginia this weekend. They're going to be in the Big 12 championship game, maybe against Oklahoma if Oklahoma can beat Baylor, and then next week, West Virginia in a game that was postponed. It's also interesting to note that Louisiana Lafayette is 8-1. They get 7-2 Appalachian State this weekend. They're number 25 in the playoff rankings, and their only loss, right, did not come against the Power 5 team that they faced. It was against, let me make sure that I check this to get it correct. Come on. Because I think it was actually Coastal Carolina. Let me make sure. Yes, it was 30-27 Coastal Carolina when they beat Iowa State 31-14. So they're also in this thing. And then the odds have just been posted by Bet Online for Brigham Young versus or at Coastal Carolina. And BYU is a 10-point favorite against the Chanticleers. This also means that we get to see Zach Wilson, a guy many of you expect to be a Heisman finalist, against an undefeated opponent and probably the best opponent they're going to face all year. It also gives them a second top 25 team that they have played, no matter what you might have thought about Boise State before the playoff rankings came out. It also is a team that is basically at full strength with what we think is a really great quarterback in Grayson McCall, and the offense that they run is also, kind of fun to watch. And I watched a little bit of them to start the season when they were one of the only teams that was on television. And to see what they have done with Grayson McCall and basically just running that East Division of the Sun Belt has been remarkable because that East Division of the Sun Belt is pretty doggone good. Coastal Carolina at the top, Appalachian State at 7-2, 5-1, and then Georgia Southern is usually pretty good. And Georgia State went into Tennessee and got a W last year. So like all of these things are important. And of course, Lafayette is 6-1 in the conference, 8-1 overall, and they would get a Coastal Carolina in a conference championship game. Now, all of that I want to put out there because this is what I had said that BYU needed to do. BYU needed to find a Pac-12 Power 5 team or a ranked team in the college football playoff, and I put a ranked team in the college football playoff rankings ahead of all else, right? And they were able to achieve that because Liberty has gone down in flames. I regret nothing. But seriously, I hate that Liberty lost this game because this was going to be a big game for them until they took that L against NC State, 15-14. Malik Willis was having a really outstanding year, and this was going to be a good game regardless of who Coastal Carolina's opponent was because we expected a Liberty that was once ranked in the top 25 to push them to a really interesting game. And now BYU gets to prove to all of us that they are as good as they look to be when they're playing teams that aren't very good. And that's what we're all going to have to look and find out. Now, BYU has the offense to run it. I don't know that they got the defense to run it. I'm going to be watching this game very closely when it comes on ESPNU at, I believe, 3:30 in the afternoon Central Time, 4:30 Eastern Time. I also think that getting a W in this game for BYU vaults them ahead of Georgia, which I still don't understand how they're ranked number 8, but that will also vault them ahead of Iowa State, which put them in the catbird seat for that at-large bid. And it feels like there's going to be a team there, or there are going to be enough teams in the playoff that would normally get that invitation to these NY6 Bowl that leave a spot for not just BYU and Cincinnati, but even possibly another group of 5 team, but I doubt it. Probably looking at a Big 12 runner-up in at least one of these games, if not a Texas A&M in another one of these games, because Florida is going to get in one of those games. And wouldn't we all like to see Florida versus BYU or Texas A&M versus BYU or Oklahoma versus BYU? It's a really good game, and I think Cincinnati could be just as good for them. So, like, if we're making the matchups and we get Cincinnati versus A&M, we get Florida versus BYU, and on it goes. We get Oklahoma versus, running out of teams all of a sudden. Maybe the Big Ten runner-up. It's just all over the board right now. Now, I know that the contract bowls are going to figure this stuff out, and we got a lot of games to play, but I wanted to get as close as I could to helping you understand the implications of Brigham Young at Coastal Carolina and why it's going to be so much fun to watch these two undefeated squads go at it in a game that absolutely has some meaning now. All right, that's it for me. Doses.